So you're thinking of moving to Salt Lake City, Utah. In this video, we're going to show you around Salt Lake City, Utah. If you stick around until the end, we're going to share with you the best kept secret of Salt Lake City that you definitely don't want to miss, and we are going to get after it right now. If this is your first time on our channel and you want to know everything about living in Salt Lake City, Utah, then subscribe and tap the bell for notifications so that you can be the very first person to know about the current market in Salt Lake City, Utah. My name is Ryan Shupit with Homes in Salt Lake City. We get calls every day from people just like you. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 9 months, feel free to reach out, as all of our contact information is in the description box below, and we would be happy to help you make a smooth move to Salt Lake City, Utah. Now let's take a closer look at Salt Lake City, Utah. According to visitsaltlake.com, there are 9 neighborhoods in Salt Lake City that are the hippest places to be. Now, obviously, hipness is a very subjective term, but it might be important to you if you're someone who really enjoys the art scene and you want to have access to those art opens, the gallery stroll, that kind of thing. Maybe there's a neighborhood that would fit you a little bit better. And if you're someone who has a bunch of kids and you like to play in the backyard, you want to be away from busy streets, there's probably a different neighborhood that works a little bit better for you. So let's get after that and talk about the top 4 on the list of visitsaltlake.com. As Salt Lake City expands, homes have become much less affordable. I'm sure you've noticed. It's kind of been hard to not notice how homes went from about $350,000 to $550,000, $650,000 median. The biggest issue that we have right now is that we have a lot of people moving to Utah. We've been in the top 5 places for immigration over the past few years. Plus, we have a 32,000 home shortage. So we need about 32,000 more homes to make up for all of the people who would like to buy a home in Salt Lake City, Utah. And that deficit of single family homes is something that really has kept prices a little bit higher than they probably would be otherwise. It's just a simple supply and demand thing. Choosing where you live is going to be a huge decision. It's a really big decision, and you want to get it right the first time. The first area that we're going to talk about, and I think what I just said really applies to this quite a bit, because downtown is the first area. It's characterized by shops and restaurants and nightlife and hotspots that everyone wants to be at. We've got art galleries, shops, and festivals. We've got a downtown farmers market. We got the Salt Lake Brewery Pass. Tracks and Green Bike Salt Lake City is the thing that's going to help you get around downtown. Now, living in downtown can be if you're the person who has the kids, living downtown can be a little bit rougher for you, because that's where all the busy activity is. You've got lots of cars, and everything is characterized by foot traffic and cars, really. So there's not a lot of like open green space, although there are definitely some areas. I would say the biggest thing about living downtown is going to be that you have shops and restaurants and those nightlife hotspots accessible to you. Some of the best places to eat downtown, if living downtown is important to you, might be Caputo's. Caputo's is right there by Pioneer Park. It's got some of the best sandwiches and seafood in all of Salt Lake, really. You also have Ava's Bakery. You've got Argentina's best empanadas. You've got Himalayan Kitchen. These are all really incredible places to eat. And if you're like me, you probably want to go to Main Street, because Main Street has some really, really wonderful places. You've got Steven's American Bistro. You've got the Pearl, Tacos Garay. You've got Market Street Grill downtown. That's another great hotspot for seafood. You've got 5th Street Grill. As far as bars go for downtown, you've got Duffy's Tavern, or you've got Legends Pub and Grill. You've got Poplar Street Pub, which is a really cool place. The food is incredible. You've got Milk Plus. I've never been to Milk Plus, but I have always wondered about that place. It looks super cool. Well, look at that. Milk Plus is eats and drinks and drag. It's a cool place. You've got the Green Pig Pub. You've got Gracie's. You've got Piper Down. Lazee's Kitchen is incredible. If you've never been to Lazee's Kitchen, I highly recommend that you check it out. It is some of the best Mediterranean food in all of Salt Lake. It really gives Mazza a run for their money. And one of my favorite places to eat downtown is Takashi. Takashi Sushi is, man, it's out of this world. So good. The second area that visitsaltlake.com names as the hippest is Central City. Central City is going to be characterized by family neighborhoods. You've got a whole bunch of homes in that area, tucked away, but you also have some really cool shops. You've got the Stockist, you've got Children's Hour Bookstore, you've got Cahoots, you've got Trolley, you've got 9th and 9th. All sorts of different videos coming up about 9th and 9th, so stay tuned for those. But man, all those places are really fantastic. If you've never been to the Stockist, you might want to check the Stockist out, because what they have is kind of like custom clothing and knickknacks, like collectible things that are just kind of cool. Boxes, or like little trays, or different hats, or cool stuff like that. Children's Hour Bookstore is really, really cute. If you've got kids, maybe that's going to be the place you spend a lot of time at. Cahoots, all of the gifts in there are intended to be kind of fun and funny and lighthearted, and they're definitely LGBTQ friendly, so go check out Cahoots. That's a great place. Trolley has been an interesting place in my lifetime, because Trolley was a really wonderful place, and then it kind of went downhill a little bit, and then it's really been revitalized in the last 10 or 15 years. I think there was a shooting there when I was maybe like 20 years old, which is pretty rare for Salt Lake to have shootings, but it did happen once upon a time there. But Trolley has a lot of really great stores. You've got Spark, you've got some really good restaurants, you've got a spaghetti factory. If you're kind of in the family thing, that tends to be a great place. If you've got family, you can go to Spaghetti Factory. You've got Desert Edge Brewery. That's a really wonderful place. You've got Tabula Rasa. Tabula Rasa is a really cool store. They've got stationery and pens and lots of really good books and cards. Really very, very fancy, kind of collectible. It's the thing about it is that it's the kind of stuff that you just don't find everywhere. And so that kind of makes it special. And that's what's cool about Tabula Rasa. So some of the outdoor attractions around Central City are going to be, we've got playgrounds and picnics and pools at Liberty Park especially. You're gonna find all those things at Liberty Park. It's several acres of open space. You've got trees, you've got tennis courts, pools, playground for kids, drum circle on Sundays. Some people love that, some people avoid that. Whatever, whatever works for you, you do that. You've also got Gilgal Gardens. Now this is a place that I find that fewer people know about, but it's kind of an interesting spot. It's Gilgal Sculpture Garden, and apparently the guy who used to own that property, his last name was Gilgal. He was a mason, and he, the story goes anyway, that he very much loved his wife, and he was also a very devout LDS guy. When his wife passed away, he kind of just had a lot of time and heartache on his hands, and he's just started building. So there's a bunch of interesting sculptures in this place. When I was a kid, we used to drive all the way over to Hires, and then you could look over the fence at the Wonder Bread factory, and by looking over the fence, you could kind of see into Gilgal Gardens. And it was just someone's backyard, and they had all these like statues. You've got like a sphinx and an obelisk and like some crazy cool stuff back there. Since then, I think the family members, after he died, the family members decided they would just make it a park. So now it's a park, and you can go walk right in there and go up close and see the sculptures, they're really cool. I definitely recommend checking it out. You also have some really, really good food in Central City. Oh, don't forget at McClelland Trail. You've got McClelland Trail is another really wonderful outdoor adventure that you can explore on your bike or on foot. But some of the great food about Central City is going to be the Park Cafe. Wow, Park Cafe is so good. I mean, it's just like breakfast really, but there's just something about it that's really good. I've noticed in my lifetime that diners have really, I don't know what happened. They just kind of like have started disappearing, and there just are not as many diners as there used to be. When I was, until I was about 25 or 30 years old, there were like dozens of diners. And diners are great because you can go hang out there and you're not loitering, and you can have a 2.5, 3 hour lunch, drinking coffee, hanging out with your friends, that sort of thing. But Park Cafe has really good food. It's not a super huge place, so you probably want to expect to wait for at least 20, 30, 45 minutes even. So just know that about Park Cafe. Maybe what you do is you go to Park Cafe, you put your name in for a table, and then you go walk around Liberty Park because it's just right across the street from Liberty Park, okay? So Tradition is another great spot to eat. It's on the other end of Liberty Park. It's on the north end of Liberty Park, whereas Park Cafe is on the south end of Liberty Park. Really good comfort food. If you like that sort of like southern down-home cooking, Tradition's going to be a great spot to go check out. You've got East Liberty Tap House, which is a really interesting little watering hole where you can kind of go hang out with your friends. It's kind of like a bar, but it's also a brewery, but it's not huge. And I think that makes it feel kind of intimate and a little bit cozy, which is a great thing. Next, you have Maza, which I mentioned a little while ago. Maza is really, really good Lebanese food, Middle Eastern food. If you like falafel or lubna or some of these other Middle Eastern foods, definitely go check out Maza. It's a great spot. You've got Alamexo Cantina. I have not been there yet myself, but it seems like a really great place. You've got Kyoto, which is a wonderful Japanese restaurant, kind of down on 11th East a little bit there. And you've got HSL, which is a burger place. It's a sister restaurant to a place up in Park City. So there's a lot going on in Central City. Definitely check that out. I would say if you're kind of an art lover with a family, maybe Central City is the place where you want to be because you're not out of downtown, but you're not right in downtown. And it just gives you sort of an urban feel with also having sort of a suburban undertones to it. You know, everyone, like, there are yards, green grass, tree-lined streets, but still a decent number of cars and shops and traffic and that sort of thing. The third hippest area is going to be Sugar House. Obviously, Sugar House has got to be on the list. People just love Sugar House. It's a great place to live. It kind of has that similar thing to Central City where it's not downtown, but downtown's still accessible. You have yards, backyards, front yards, green grass, tree-lined streets, parks, that sort of thing, but you also have lots of shops. You've got restaurants and shopping and museums and libraries and that sort of thing. So Sugar House earned its name from the sugar beets that were planted there by pioneer settlers a century and a half ago. And from those beets, they made sugar, right? So that's Sugar House. And another thing that a lot of people don't know about Sugar House Park is that that used to be the site of the prison. There was a prison there a long time ago because that was like the outskirts of town, Sugar House, right? So that's kind of funny that Sugar House Park used to be a prison, and now it's like one of the best parks in all of Utah, I would argue. But plenty of restaurants in Sugar House. Lots of restaurants, lots of bars, breweries, shops, places to hang out. And one of the big, obviously, like I said a minute ago, one of the big attractions to Sugar House Park is going to be, one of the big attractions to Sugar House is going to be Sugar House Park. It's a giant park, several acres, glorious park. with sweeping mountain views. I mean, it's kind of set, like the park kind of like is set down in a valley a little bit. And so being in that valley, basically what you can see around you is the Wasatch Mountains, and it's really beautiful. There's something about it. So if you're a runner, they have a trail all the way around the park, and the view is basically a little pond in the middle of the park where there's ducks and geese and kids playing and that sort of thing. And then on the outside, as you're running around, you're going to be seeing the Wasatch Mountains. So that's kind of cool. So Sugar House, like I said, is a favorite place for urban trail running. I would say it's a little bit, I don't know, it depends on what you like in your running trail, but Liberty Park has a running trail and Sugar House has a running trail, and I feel like I see more people running in Sugar House than in Liberty Park for whatever reason. You've got lots of Victorian homes and stout little bungalows, and that is Sugar House for you. Everything was built in about 1890 to 1945, 1955, somewhere around there. So let's talk about where you can eat if you go to Sugar House. If you're gonna live in Sugar House, you want to know that there are some good places nearby to eat. You've got Finn's, which is a very good breakfast place. I highly, highly recommend it. It has a Scandinavian flair to it. And if you like lingonberries and crepes and that sort of thing, so good. Definitely check out Finn's. You've got À la Maison Monsieur Crêpe, The Dodo, Hub and Spoke, Little Saigon, Ekamai Thai. Ekamai Thai is so good. Ekamai Thai used to be over closer to downtown. It was really near Caputo's, but it was just a tiny little spot. I don't think they even had any tables in there. You'd go get your food and then you'd go eat outside because it was just a tiny little window, really. And now they have Ekamai Thai across the street to the north of Sugar House Park, and there's seating, and it's just really good Thai food. So I definitely recommend checking that out. Where would you get drinks in Sugar House? Because that's going to be important, that there's nightlife available to the hip people who want to live in Sugar House. You've got Campfire Lounge. I'd say that's probably the first place I would recommend. It's kind of intimate and casual and just kind of fun like that. But then if you need to be a little more classy and upscale, you've got the Ruin, which is definitely a place you're gonna wear slightly nicer clothes, and if you want to impress a date, you're gonna go to the Ruin, I would say. Unless impressing your date means casual and intimate, then probably Campfire Lounge would be the place to go. You've got Wasatch Brewery, where you can take your family. You can have really, really good food over at Wasatch Brewery, plus of course, like good beer. The Sugar House Distillery is a really amazing spot to go check out because they craft their own vodka, rum, and bourbon too. So if that's something that's interesting to you, then I would definitely check that out, because really the truth is that 25, 30 years ago, Salt Lake City did not have distilleries and all the brew pubs that we have now. I think we had Red Rock and maybe Wasatch, and that was kind of it. Those were like the two brew pubs in like all of Salt Lake. And now there are probably dozens of breweries, and to have a distillery is that's next level. So go check that out. It's a pretty great spot to waste a little time in. As far as shopping goes, the kind of shopping that you're going to do in Sugar House is mostly going to be boutique shopping. All along 1100 East, you're going to find a whole bunch of little quaint, cozy, unique, eclectic boutiques. And those are going to have, they're going to be stores like Turia's if you like crystals and the kinds of things that you would find associated with crystals. Turia's is a cool little shop on 11th East. You also will find Commerce and Craft, Awakening Heart, Unhinged Boutique, Liberty Heights Fresh, little tiny shops like that. And Liberty Heights Fresh it's kind of a grocery store, but I would probably call it more like a bodega, where they import all sorts of really good cheeses and fruits and oil and vinegar, that kind of thing. And it's small, but it packs a punch. It's a really lovely little store. But then along 2100 South, you're gonna find a number of interesting shops. You'll have Home Again, the American Rust Company, Blick Art Supplies, and then even if that's your thing, lots of different tattoo parlors, lots of places. So between 1100 East and 2100 South, that's really going to be kind of your shopping spots. And so from 11th East to maybe like 7th East, and from 21st South to maybe like, I don't know, to 13th South, that's really where you're going to be living. So all of those shops kind of outlining the perimeter of Sugar House are going to be super accessible. I mean, obviously Sugar House isn't completely delineated by 11th East and 2100 South, but it's kind of like the edge of Sugar House, I would argue. So it's nice to have those shops just like surrounding where you would be living if you were to live in Sugar House. You also have Seek Fitness Studio, which is if fitness is kind of your thing. They also have a Healthy Pets shop downstairs from the Seek Fitness Studio. And one thing that I think a lot of people neglect to keep in mind is Westminster College. Westminster College is in Sugar House. They have really cool events, lots of good speakers, art opens. They have a beautiful campus. You have mature, old growth trees and a little, I don't know if I'd call it a river, it's more like a creek that runs through the campus. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a creek over there. And so maybe go check that out if you want to live in Sugar House. It's kind of a fun place to walk around. They also do, every year there's an Oktoberfest over at Westminster. So it's kind of cool to have just the little like ecosphere of events that would happen at Westminster College that you could attend to. You could walk over there and check out some of those fun things. The fourth hippest area, according to visitsaltlake.com, is going to be the Avenues or Capitol Hill. I guess the Avenues and Capitol Hill. So the Avenues and Capitol Hill is a really, really eclectic place. It smashes together old historic buildings and kind of refined residential neighborhoods with like very modern, contemporary facets. I think what you'll find is that there are a lot of homes that are bungalows from either the 1920s, sort of arts and crafts bungalows, or bungalows that are more like, I guess maybe more like ramblers from the 40s and 50s, but predominantly you'll find a lot of homes that are Victorian from the late 1800s and early 1900s. This is kind of the Victorian area. And sometimes you'll find that one of those old Victorian homes maybe fell into serious disrepair and was torn down, and then they built like a really fancy, brand new, modern concept home. So it's like Victorian, modern, bungalow, Victorian, modern, you know? It's kind of cool. It's a cool thing. The other thing that I really like about Capitol Hill and Avenues that I think probably adds to it being hip and is why it's on their list is that you can find yoga and Pilates studios in the lower level of shops, and then people live above that. It's pretty common to find that in those areas. You also have spas and bed and breakfasts, and possibly it is the most artistic area in all of Salt Lake, and it's the most unique of Salt Lake for some of the reasons that I mentioned. It's just, there's kind of a feeling to it, because I think really what it comes down to is that the homes weren't necessarily all built by the same builder, so they don't feel exactly the same, but they were built using a similar style. So there's kind of a feeling that's conforming, but also no two homes look exactly the same. And that lends to sort of an artistic feeling. And also just like lots of really cool shops interspersed with those different homes makes it a kind of a cool place. It's a really great place for eccentrics and weirdos like myself. So the Avenues and Capitol Hill is characterized by, like I said, the bed and breakfasts and artisan coffee. We've got Jack Jack Mormon Coffee, which is pretty cool. I think 2 Cups. I'm not sure if 2 Cups is still there. Maybe it's public now, but lots of artisan coffee. You have craft beer. You can find that over at Avenues proper, or there are a couple of different spots to find craft beer. And then you're gonna find really charming local restaurants, some cathedrals, and we'll talk about restaurants and cathedrals a little bit more in a second. But if you want something to do outside in the Avenues or Capitol Hill area, you're going to probably go check out Ensign Peak. If you're someone who does like sort of day hikes and that kind of thing, or you just like to be able to see for hundreds of miles, go check out Ensign Peak. I feel like it's not the most known trail in Salt Lake. I mean, it's not like no one knows about it, but I feel like I don't hear people talking about Ensign Peak very much. But it's a cool little spot. It's kind of on the far end of the mountain, so you can see, when you get to the top, you can see the Great Salt Lake, and you can also see like all the way down to like Provo, basically. You have Bonneville Shoreline Trail, which kind of circles the bowl of the Wasatch Mountains, and it's a really, really long trail. I'm sure hundreds of miles if you really wanted to go that far. I know a lot of people who are runners who like to do like trail running, and that is where they go. I'd say if you're a pretty serious outdoor enthusiast, or like to run or cycle, that's the place that those people tend to go to. You also have City Creek Canyon, which is above Memory Grove. And Memory Grove is a really interesting relic of the Victorian era. It's kind of hard to describe like what makes it special, but it's like a park that has sort of like a mausoleum feeling, where there are like little statues and edifices dedicated to people or places or memories of a time. And so it just has a very unique feeling. It's cool. I think you should go check that out. And if you wanted to kind of explore and have some running or cycling or just hiking area, you've got City Creek Canyon above that. The one caveat I would say there is that there are people living up in their hills. So just be conscientious about where you're going, and especially if you're alone. I have not had any trouble with the people who are basically homeless living up in those hills, but you never know, right? So some of the food that you're going to want to check out in the Avenues is going to be Avenues proper. Avenues proper is burgers and fries and kind of high-end Americana. Really, really good food. And they also have a brewery. So if you want beer, great place to go. It's a great place to have like a night out on the town with your significant other or your partner. You also can go check out Wildwood Bistro. I'm pretty sure that used to be Avenues Bistro on 3rd. I feel like that's what I'm remembering, but you know how life is. Things get blurry, right? You've got Sawadee Thai, which personally I think is some of the best Thai in all of Salt Lake. I really love Sawadee Thai. They split off from Shannon Thai maybe a decade ago and started their own thing. It's really good. You've got Diversion Social Eatery, you've got Public, you've got Hatch Family Chocolates. There's something about handmade, hand-dipped chocolate that makes it so good. If you like candy or sweets or anything like that, definitely check out Hatch Family Chocolate. If you want kind of a bar feeling, Garage on Beck is going to be your place. They have food and live music and drinks, obviously, and it's just kind of a more hangout feeling. It's a bar. It's a bar. If you need something fun to do that's maybe a little bit more family oriented, you could go check out the Salt Lake Acting Company, which I just love. Slack. They are like community theater. I think it's probably like, $50 to $100 to get a season pass there, like season tickets. And it's community theater. So it's going to be plays written by people who live in your neighborhood. That used to be the home of Saturday Voyeur before it retired, which was just an institution in and of itself. And I just love that Salt Lake does have an art community like that. It's so important. We have Curador, which is a spa. It has kind of an Eastern feeling to it. It's very grounded and quiet, and a wonderful place to relax and recharge. You've got the Capitol building. I think a lot of people kind of forget just how spectacular the Capitol building is. The architecture and the marble is beautiful. It's an amazing thing, and it's just enormous. I think we kind of take for granted because we see it all the time, but if you actually go inside, it's pretty special. And the grounds around the Capitol are pretty great too. Lots of open green space, trees, little nooks and crannies. You can have a picnic there, that kind of thing. There's also the Masonic Temple. I've never been in the Masonic Temple, and I really need to get on that because it's so interesting to me. I've always wondered about it since I was a little kid. From the outside, it's very almost like Greek revival. And so I would imagine the inside is just as spectacular as the outside is. And then, like I said, you have the Cathedral of the Madeleine. If you want to go check out a midnight mass for Christmas or a place to go to mass for Easter, Cathedral of the Madeleine is a really great spot, and it's just beautiful. I used to go hang out in the backyard, I guess. I don't know what they call it, the rectory, or I don't know. I'm not Catholic, so I'm not sure. But I used to go hang out in the back end of the cathedral. It's really pretty. And I feel like there's an aesthetic there that we don't have a lot of in America. It feels more European, I guess. There are 5 more neighborhoods that visitsaltlake.com says are among the hippest in Salt Lake City. It's totally worth heading over there to check those out. I think the other 5 neighborhoods are also really cool neighborhoods, but this video is getting so long. Let's just stick to the top 4. But the one little nugget that's worth its weight in gold that I really wanted to point out for you, because I think a lot of people in Salt Lake, even people in and from Salt Lake, don't really know about it, that's worth telling you about. I just want to say up front, I am not affiliated with, and I don't get paid by visitsaltlake.com. I have nothing to do with them. I just think they're a cool local institution. They exist to help people understand Salt Lake and find cool things to do, be like a little hub. I also love that it's a place where writers are having the opportunity to write about Salt Lake and describe it in its best light and point out cool things to check out about Salt Lake. So, having said that, I am not paid by them, I'm not affiliated with them, but one really cool thing that you should go check out is that they have a Salt Lake passport. They have some of the best, coolest deals, and those deals include, if you go get the passport, essentially what you're going to get is 10 to 20% off of food at some of the dining locations that are participating in it, which is amazing. And then there's 10 to 20% off of merchandise at select locations, and then 20 to 25% discount on tickets for sports and performing art shows. And there's even more new deals being added all the time. So go check out visitsaltlake.com.